not sure I really want to review it. It might actually challenge my number one, and I'm so happy with that choice right now. This is the Bigme Inknote Color Plus Lite. And the biggest thing that I would be sacrificing with this compared to the Tab Ultra C would be the keyboard case. The specs are really similar in so many other ways. It's the same Kaleido-free screen, it's the same 4GB of RAM, and there are similar processors, at least on paper. There's similar storage as well. Let's find out. Will the Inknote Color Plus Lite come close to challenging the mighty Tab Ultra C? So I used the Inknote Color Plus Lite, for 2 weeks at work as my digital planner, and it worked just fine for that use case. But I'll be upfront, I'm now so used to my Eink device being an inviting place to do productivity tasks, like cloud knowledge management, email, research and writing, even using full Office apps. And whilst it's possible to do all these things here on the Bigme Inknote Color Plus Lite, I didn't feel like it was a place that I wanted to do them. And so I reverted to my laptop PC to work on those. That being said, it's difficult to deny what a great value device this is. By e-ink standards, looking at spending only £400 on a device with the latest color e-ink screen is pretty stupendous really. And so it does deserve your attention just for that. And I think the best way to review this device is going to be to go through my comparison scores with you. It has had a recent update where they've added the auto clean mode in the normal and extreme modes, and also there are these different color modes. That actually looks really quite good now. Yeah, that's nice. But generally when you're on a browser, you're going to be using the normal fast mode as a minimum, and that doesn't look as good as it can look in a fast mode. So I'm going to look at this versus the Tab Ultra C, and I'm going to talk about some key points. Tab Ultra C is in pink and the Bigme is in blue. Is it really a fair comparison to talk about the Tab Ultra C versus this device? Especially as this is the light version of the Inknote? Well, it is less expensive than the Ultra C. With a keyboard case included, we're talking about a whole £250 more for the Tab Ultra C. So it is quite a large price difference. Perhaps it'd be more fair to compare the Bigme with the Note Air 2 Plus. They are similar prices right now, but I still don't think so. I think the Kaleido free screen gives both of these devices, the Tab Ultra C and the Bigme, it gives them both 300 pixels per inch in black and white, and the Note Air 2 Plus is stuck down at 227 pixels per inch. Although the Bigme has added this paper feeling screen protector, which on the one hand gives it a nice feel with the pen on the screen, on the other hand that reduces the clarity of the screen. And I know which one I would choose, but it is a legitimate trade-off and you could argue both ways. All three of the Tab Ultra C, the Note Air 2 Plus and the Lite version of the Inknote have the same 4GB of RAM, and I found that does give you plenty of latitude when working between different apps. The multitask switcher lives up here on the Bigme device, although why they just haven't included it in some ordinary Android buttons at the bottom, I don't know. But maybe you know you need a bit more RAM, and I have had the Inknote Color Lite Plus crash on me more than once during my time using it, and probably more often than other devices that I've owned. You might, if you know you have a more intensive workflow, you might opt for the extra 2GB of RAM that the full Inknote Color Plus gives you. Although recently I did have the Tab Ultra C crash on me in my email app, which I'm using Spark on it at the minute, and that was a first. And I'm getting some weird behavior with the keyboard every now and then, whereby it's almost like the keys have stuck in and it's typing the same character over and over again. But that's only very occasionally, and it goes away really quickly. So on paper it should be a pretty even match, and it's a comparison I think is worth making. So let's go for that anyway. And is there really a chance for Bigme now that books are using those GPUs so effectively to give you fast and clean e-ink? Well, Bigme have had 2 updates where they've improved and added this auto cleaning mode, although it's temperamental at best. It does happen sometimes. It seems to happen really well on the home screen. You see that dark space there where PDF Element was, and it's kind of gone, although it's kind of still there as well. And that would be, I think, entirely eradicated on the Tab Ultra C. And they've had 2 updates which have made an improvement to the way the screen works and to the power performance as well. They've stopped short of brandishing this technology as lavishly as the Book Super Refresh technology. They've just called it that auto clean in the normal fast mode and the extreme mode. And you can switch it on or off, which I'm not sure why you would want to switch it off. Perhaps to conserve some battery life. And perhaps there's a perception that it's the GPU which is making these tab devices have such poor battery performance. And they don't want to be in that same world of compromise which is inherent in the Book's tab line. The battery is smaller here on the Inknote, but you're getting a similar battery life as you were on the Tab Ultra C. So I'm not seeing stellar battery performance on here either. Again, more like 3 days rather than that full week that you might well be used to when we're talking about e-ink tablets. And what I really want to see from these e-ink companies is they aim towards a time when the optimization for apps is done automatically. So they've done a great job of optimizing for some apps, but I want them to expand that range of apps that are supported by that and automatically change to the best screen mode for each app. And books are further along with that, and many popular apps have excellent optimization within them without you having to change anything as a user. So you, of course, you're welcome to go ahead to eWritable and see how I've scored all this range of devices that I've tested. So the Bigme is the blue one and the red one is the Tab Ultra C. And all of these scores that you can get, they're all based on my use of the device for 2 weeks at work, my real world testing. And that's when you really get to know what a device can and can't do, and if there's any real issues with using it for a professional purpose. As you can see, with most things, I'm preferring the Tab Ultra C over the Bigme. I've scored it slightly higher for reading, just because it is that slightly bit lighter than the Tab Ultra C, and most people are going to find it a bit more comfortable in the hand with these rounded edges. It's just more notes and reading orientated than the Tab Ultra C is. Thinking and decision making is another area that I've scored the Bigme higher than the books. This is because there are some AI features which a professional could certainly make use of. Having AI in your ink tablet could certainly speed some tasks up, and it's a good idea. And if Bigme are set on going this way, then they just need to have a few generations of this software, and they need to actually evaluate how well it fits in a professional's workflow. They need to make it seamless. But right now, the AI is not implemented well. It only really exists in a sort of separate ChatGPT app, which this is just exactly what you can get on any browser. And I have no idea why these random example questions they've put here are what they are. I'm not going to go into it. And when I ask it a question, can you explain to me why this always gives me Chinese as a response? What's the best way to integrate AI into an e-ink tablet? So I think it's number 5 that they need to focus on doing more of. And 6, yeah, so cool. It did give me English in that case, so that's good. But the AI needs to be within the Notes app and within the Meetings app, within the calendar, not a separate chatbot. I could just as easily get the same experience if I go to ChatGPT in a browser. I mean, AI is cool and everything, but where the use is really valuable is where it's integrated at the point of use, not just something which can generate text. So I want to see it here. Give me a button up here where I can actually... It's taking quite a bit of time. So give me a button here within the Notes app where I can actually do a bit of handwriting recognition and let that become a prompt for ChatGPT. Seem to have done it, but now where's that text gone? That's not very accurate at all. Books, though, isn't a notepad, so Bigme wins here because it's just more of a note style of device. And that is why it wins as the thinking and decision-making tool. But all the other things, as you can see, are better on the Tab Ultra C. For instance, communication and collaboration, there's just no competition. I'm not likely to want to write emails here on the Inknote, and the screen performance makes it less of a joy to use. However, there is the front-facing camera, which could be of use if you desperately were needing to make a video call and you'd lost your phone or not charged it or some other quite unlikely scenario. I guess the Inknote could get you out of a bind there. I did score the book slightly higher for the reading app, and that's because Bigme doesn't always achieve the same clarity as the book screen. And importantly, because Neo Reader is a more customizable and more comprehensive reading app than X-Reader is on Bigme. It also gave me more accidental page turns, which were quite frustrating here in the reading app. So I did actually end up turning off the single touch page turn and go for just a swipe touch. So essentially the palm recognition is not as good on the Bigme as it was on the books. I also regularly, like at least once a day, I had a page turn whereby the image retention was total. So I turned the page and on this page was all of the ink from the previous page. Not like a ghosting, but all of the ink just as dark as it was before. Luckily, they've added a quick refresh just from the corner here, which does clear it up straight away. And then let's go back to that matte screen protector they've opted for here on the Bigme. That makes the screen a slightly lower clarity. And I think that was a big factor in me not finding it as inviting to use as the books. I think books have gone down the right route on that, trying to get the clearest image you can on e-ink. Perhaps though, that matte screen protector might be a benefit for some people, and it is a nice feeling of the pen on the screen. But I would suggest that the writing experience is a combination of the pen and the screen. And the Bigme pen is another example where Bigme have had good ideas, but they haven't implemented them well. The Bluetooth buttons are a good idea, they're all well and good, but this pen is just too thick for it to be comfortable. And I do find myself accidentally pressing the buttons all the time. And the Boox therefore is a better writing experience. So you see I put them generally, the pen and screen feel equal. The pen is also important for drawing, and that's why you'll see my innovation creation score is lower on the Bigme than it is on the Boox. The pen is just something that lets the whole device down. And so much of the joy of an e-ink tablet is about the way the pen and the screen interact. And that's just something that Bigme ought to go back to the drawing board on, really. The buttons are really smushy and they're really temperamental, and I find them both easy to accidentally press and then difficult to press the right one in a hurry. And also this laser pointer seems like a nice to have, seems like a good idea, but I've never found myself using it for its intended use. Because does anyone really use a laser pointer anymore? And laser pointers don't show up on screens with anti-glare finishes, and that's like the ones we have at the front of the classroom. I also accidentally turn it on sometimes, and when you're writing, the pen is pointing towards your face. So if you accidentally do that double press and turn it on and end up with a laser shine in your eyes, that could actually do some eye damage, which is the opposite of what e-ink tablets are supposed to do. I will allow that the page turn buttons, they should make this device a presenter's dream, but unfortunately they don't advance slides in PowerPoint. Although there might be some hidden way to map them to do this, but I haven't found that yet. And in any case, PowerPoint runs better on the Tab Ultra C. You could present from PDFs and then you could use that as a page turn to advance a slide. But I imagine for most of you, it would be using the full PowerPoint with access to all of your cloud files that would be the way to go. Then there's the design, and I like Bigme's design, but when you put it next to what it's imitating, there's just no competition at all. The remarkable is just so. It's not grey, it's a carefully selected hue and a tone which matches the e-ink. The accents are subtle and the whole thing feels premium and well put together. The Bigme, in contrast, it feels as if it's been made cheaply using the cheapest set of standard materials that the manufacturer had to offer. At least Boox has its own design language, which, although that's far from perfect, it does improve with each iteration. The only other score where the Bigme can go toe-to-toe with the Boox is the hardware features. You are getting the latest e-ink, all for a good price. And you do have all of the buttons on the pen, you've got a fingerprint reader, and you've got front and back cameras, both of which are flush with the body of the device. So you're not going to get that wobble if you lay it flat on the table to write. Bigme is fine. I would happily use it. And I've talked at length about the direction that Bigme is going with its devices and its software, but it's still got a long way to go before it comes into the top 5 of e-ink tablets. And when it comes down to it, it was about flow. And it's telling which device I've chosen to write this review on. It was the Tab Ultra C on the table in laptop mode in a combination of Xtiles and Google Docs. And that hour typing this review passed in minutes.